Hey guys, Charles back again, and we're going to be discussing source material versus the live action adaptations. With this one, I'm going to be mainly focusing on novels going into either live action movies, which is that's mostly the case, or live action television. So there's and why usually the live action stuff is trash. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's gonna be trash. That's just my opinion. So whatever. So looking back at all, the novel to movie adaptations, you have what recently A Wrinkle in Time, which I did do a review on that. Check that out if you want. You have uh, Darren Shan's Vampire Assistant. The biggest one, probably the biggest three are probably Harry Potter, Twilight, and the Hunger Games. And I guess you can for fourth you can throw in the Maze Runner. But there's lots of examples. Lots of stuff that's been made into the big movie pictures of that. But usually, what usually ends up happening and why people who read the books, are fans of the books, love the books, and they go see the movie and they walk out really disappointed or really mad or like really just walk out of the movie because for some reason, even though they have the source material, and I know the authors sell the rights to the books for the bigger pictures so they can make the movies or whatever, but it just feels like they have the source material, and when you say in my opinion, when you say based on, it needs to be almost like 90% of the actual source material, but it usually falls into maybe like I would say a good 30 to 40% of what they use, and then they just make up a bunch of stuff as they go. That's just my opinion. I'm not sure how that really works. I'm not sure, how much, leeway the author has in, said, script or whatever, but it just feels like, they change stuff unnecessarily, if you get what I mean. Case in point, let's, I guess, A Wrinkle in Time. Let's take that for, verbatim. They unnecessarily, they dropped characters that were supposed to be detrimental to, like, the actual story, and, they didn't address that Charles Wallace could read minds, and that's why, it wanted him. So, that right there is just a big thing of, like, so why did y'all not have that in the movie when that's really, really important to the story? Then you get another example like Harry Potter. Let's talk about The Prisoner of Azkaban. They never explained who the Marauders were, which was Remus Lupin, James Potter, Peter Pettigrew, Sirius Black, Prawns, Padfoot, Moody, Wormtail. They never explained who they actually were. So, that kind of led up to confusion. They left out half of the book as well. Now, granted, I understand they, have a limited time to, fit a bunch of stuff, into these about 2 hour movies, but, they make unnecessary scenes that drag on that, either weren't in the book or weren't in the book for that long, or they'll make up characters that never even existed in the first place. and I'm going with one of the characters from Darren Shawn's The Vampire Assistant, which they literally melded like 6 of the books into one movie, which didn't make a lot of sense. And the love interest for, Darren, they completely changed her, and also fused her with the new best friend and all this other stuff. So I'm kind of like, what just happened? Because the books are great. Usually these movies are from books that are really, really well known, are really good, but then when you get to like the movie, it's like, so what's going on? So I don't. I just feel like maybe they should either consult with the author more, or you have you pretty much have the source material. I don't understand why they can't just use that as their screenplay, and cut out a couple of scenes here and there, but cutting out some stuff, and then you're adding stuff that's completely unnecessary, like unnecessary character changes. I don't mind the I don't mind changing genders, changing races. That's fine with me, as long as the character is still the same character at the end of the day, personality wise. Then to me, that doesn't really matter. Now people might be saying, but Chow, what about like comic books and all that other stuff? Comic books and video game stuff. We'll get to that in a different source material versus the adaptation. We'll get into that in other videos. But right now we're going to be focusing on like novels and all that other stuff, and why usually it doesn't work. I guess I would say that probably one of the better adaptions was the Hunger Games. Even though they did drop a lot of stuff that was important to most of the characters, but it is what it is. This happens. This is why I'm skeptical to go see, and a lot of my friends too, skeptical to go see these adaptation films, because I want to go in loving it. I wanted to go in loving A Wrinkle in Time. It didn't happen, and it's the same thing for like the Harry Potter novels. It's cool visually, but then you go like, so what happened to this and this? Why wasn't this explained? And you have people walking out confused, and then the people who I know the source material, I have to sit there and explain to them, so this is why the situation was like that. Granted, I know most of the character dialogue is inside their heads or whatever, what they're thinking, but I mean, there's no way to convey that properly in film as of now. As far as I haven't seen it done properly. I think most of these will be better as TV shows, because with TV shows you have the ability to build up the characters. You have the ability to round them out and give them the amount of personality and history for backstory and all that other stuff. These 2-hour long movies, they don't really have that much time to like flesh out the characters. That's why some characters feel like a little dry, or they drop characters, or I guess sometimes I'll just completely add somebody who never even actually existed. Let me backtrack to, I guess, as far as like character designs and all that other stuff. Case in point, the Percy Jackson series. Rick Riordan literally has on his website for the book what all the characters look like and all the other stuff. What really disappointed to me, about the first one, which is why I didn't see the second one, is look, I wanted to see the biker get up Ares, on his Harley and all the other stuff. I wanted to see, Zeus in his business suit, Poseidon and, his Hawaiian t-shirt and all that other stuff. But, we didn't get any of that. They also dropped one of the characters that was really important to finding out that Percy was, Poseidon's son. So, don't know why they did that. I don't know. Maybe, I guess, have the author be one of the executive producers. That way, they can say, what's wrong and why they shouldn't do this and that. Which, it makes me worried for other movies and stuff to come that are based off of books. Because it's kind of like, at this point, I've been disappointed so many times, and most recently A Wrinkle in Time, that I don't want to be disappointed. I'd rather, have what I envision in my head from the books rather than go see the movie and go like, that's not at all like how that happened or whatever. Case in point, one thing that never happened was in the last Harry Potter novel and the movie, the whole thing for the Elder Wand was Harry, in the book, Harry put the Elder Wand back in Dumbledore's desk and left it at that. In the movie, he broke it in half and threw it down the chasm, and then pretty much everybody in the theater who read the book was kind of like, what just happened? That's not even remotely how that went or whatever. Well, I mean, I don't know. But backtracking a little bit to them adapting them in the media as TV shows, I guess I could say a good portion of that would be the Mortal Instruments. Or I guess we have Shadowhunters now on, Freeform, because first it was a movie and the movie was not adapted all that well. But considering that the TV show is going on season 3, I would say it's doing pretty well. I think I watched like half of the first season before I dropped it. It was just, I was watching too many shows at a time. I'm probably going to go back and, check it out again. I think they got like, like most of like the characters right and all that other stuff. They did change like a lot of stuff and, rushed a bunch of stuff. And that's another thing about, these adaptions is they tend to rush stuff unnecessarily and then slow down stuff that's kind of like, that was like in the book for like a paragraph. And they'll like make this like this long drawn out scene, and it's kind of like, can we like move on from like, this or whatever. And that's, I think, one of the problems they have. But, they have, for the books, they have the source material. I don't understand why they need to make so many detrimental changes. I just don't understand, because as an author, if I were to see, my, book adapted for like film or television and it wasn't what I wanted it to be, I would be kind of embarrassed, to be honest, because, this is like, the thing that you worked hard for, and then to have, I guess that's a big, I believe that would be a big thing for authors, to see your stuff on like the big screen or whatever. So going back to, TV adaptions, one of the worst ones to date, and I apologize, but honestly, the strain, I had to stop after season 2, I believe. They just changed so they changed so much stuff unnecessarily. Like, I don't know why they felt the need to have characters who made it to the end of the book and they killed them off super early, and then you have characters who died, within like the first two novels, and then they last till like the end of the movie. And the way that, I mean, I'm not even gonna go over the vampires. I just or the Shigori, let's just call them what they are. But even even they even made a comic book to the strain that came out before the TV show, and it, like, you have the source material there to what these things look like. Like, they're not supposed to have ears. I mean, I could just understand actors need to hear or whatever, but there's been ways to cover up ears and have them still hear or whatever. Especially they're just running around acting like zombies anyway and just eating people. But like, them adding Dutch to the TV series was kind of like, she was never even in the books. Them killing off Nora in season 2 when she makes it to the end of everything and has kids with Fett, and they named him after everybody who died. So it just unnecessary changes. Then you had Quinlan, but then you had the guys that came before him. They weren't in the book at all. So I just don't understand why they need to. I don't understand why the TV and film writers need to add characters who never existed when you have like what's supposed to be happening and all the other stuff. And this is why I go like, so what kind of leeway do the authors have in this? Because I would at least want to make sure that stuff is done correctly. I guess another example was the Dresden Files when it was adapted to sci-fi. I mean, as many books as there are for Dresden, there's so many stories that they can just use a season. They can pretty much make one book of the Dresden Files into a season or two. That's how much that can go on. But I guess they felt the need to make unnecessary like storylines and all this other stuff. And then I think like the last episode was like the first book or whatever. I don't know. They changed a lot of stuff. I mean, I enjoyed it for the most part until I read the books. Sorry. I mean, that's just how I feel. This is just all my opinions on novels to their live media counterparts, or live action media counterparts. And then one that I didn't see was the Wordstone Chronicles, The Seventh Son. I saw the trailer and I was like, nope, I couldn't do it. I'm a huge fan of those books. Seeing the trailer and seeing all the stuff that they added that never actually happened, and then people say, well, Chow, it could be like a completely different, imagination or like, universe of said story. But in my opinion, and this is what I'm gonna get into a little bit of comic book, is like the comics can get away with it because there's so many different universes that they have said avidly in the comics. There's so many different universes. They can get away with what they're getting away with the Marvel movies, with the DC TV shows, with the DC movies, and it works. I'm gonna make another video on that, discussion on that, on why for the comic books it works versus right now where it usually the novels it doesn't work. And the same thing can be said for video games too, which that's gonna be another discussion for another day, because I can pretty much go all day, to be honest. But sticking with books and all that other stuff, it's just they do unnecessary changes from what it seems like, no reason, and people just want to know why. So I think, I guess interviews would clear up, what happened, like what happened with the Wrinkle of Time, like why the decision to change all this other stuff, and maybe it'll give people like me peace of mind of like, I need to know why you guys felt the need to not completely change characters, completely create new characters that never existed in like the novels or whatever, while you're completely writing out characters who had important roles to the story, and just a bunch of other stuff. So I mean, I guess it is what it is. I just feel, what I want to know what authors really think when stuff like this happens, to their, stuff. And, oh yeah, that's that in, True Blood or the Sookie Stackhouse novels, where, again, stuff was changed, characters were added, some characters weren't even mentioned or even added to the story where it made sense, and then you also have the same thing can be said for Midnight Texas, because they're in the same universe anyway. So I mean, and with one of the novel series that I read, Jonathan Mayberry's the Joe Ledger novels, I know I've been excited to have it, adapted to film or whatever, but seeing and thinking about all the stuff that I have seen from novels that I have read and huge fans of, and when I'm disappointed to see the live action version of it, I'm generally really, really worried about what's to come when they finally do, the Joe Ledger stuff for either television or film. I just feel like hopefully, Jonathan has some say of what they're gonna do, because there's a lot of people who are fans of these books, and they're really, really good, well thought out, well detailed, like most of these books are, very well detailed, very well thought out, even with like the sciences and all that other stuff, stuff that's explained, versus when you look at the film and you go like, I don't understand what's going on, like they need to explain something for me to get this. But I think I've gone on long enough, guys. Let me know your thoughts about the novels into live action film or TV. Let me know your thoughts about what you think about that versus source material versus whatever they put out on the screen or whatever. So if you like what I have to say, guys, feel free to leave me a like, subscribe if you're new, and I would really like to hear other people's thoughts on like this concept of source material versus the live action, but we're gonna stick it to, for this one, we're gonna stick it to books versus their live action counterpart. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in the next discussion video. See you guys.